enthusiasm from Christian tonight. Very good. Okay, so this is kind of a good segue talking about Riley Damiani. Okay, so the main part of our podcast tonight we wanted to talk about is young guys in the Dallas Stars organization. So right now there are 3 players that we could probably consider that could possibly make the opening night roster and be a regular in the lineup this upcoming season. And those 3 players are Ty Dellandrea, Thomas Harley, and Riley Damiani, which we mentioned just a second ago. And the question is out of these 3 players, who has the most likely chance of making that opening night roster? Chris?
Yeah, so for that question, the obvious answer is Dellandrea, because he's already played in the NHL. He's shown that he's able to play, but he has the obvious thing to work on, which was puck battles. He was kind of just getting thrown around, but just bulking up could improve that. We haven't heard anything about his training during the offseason, but hopefully he's gotten bigger and stronger. But either way, he has the best chance of getting on the team because there's a good spot that needs to be filled there by a faster guy in case I don't even remember. What was that old guy who we signed as a depth guy, Ryan, who I said that I hated?
Michael Raffle?
Yeah. So if we need somebody who can actually score instead of Michael Raffle, the goal of hockey, you'll play Dellandrea instead. So I think he's the most likely, but the one who I want to make the starting roster is Damiani, because he has the most potential to be a top 6 forward. I don't think Dellandrea really has that much potential to be a top 6 guy. He could, but just the fact that his progression is a lot slower and more extended. He didn't score that many points, and he had a decent amount of games with the Stars. Actually, he had 26 games last season, and only 5 points, and 2 of those are off of power play goals, which it's good that he made the most of his power play time, but that's honestly not a lot of points for how he plays. For how he plays, he should be scoring more. But Damiani really could be an offensive powerhouse, and what I would really like is if he could be the flank to Robertson and Hintz after Pavelski leaves. If we could figure that out and he can fill that spot, that could make that the best young line in the NHL after kind of coming out of our era with Ben Sagan, Radulov. We're going to go directly into that line. That would be really awesome and easy transition, and there wouldn't be a rebuild. It would actually be a retool instead of a rebuild after Ben and Sagan leave, which would be way better than having to suck for a couple of years.
I can get behind all of that analysis. All of that's very good, but the one player you didn't talk about was Thomas Harley, and I think I know why. But why? So why? So what about Thomas Harley then?
He just doesn't have a spot. I mean, if you're just looking at the roster that we have now,
exactly,
the spot he has to take is filled by someone who's already a really solid defenseman. Who we don't have any shakiness there, so he'd have to be substantially better than the bottom than the 5 and 6 guy, honestly, in my opinion, to break into being a defenseman for us. But next year he definitely could be. We still have guys signed on short contracts for defensemen. He's definitely a great defenseman. He's shown he's a good puck mover. He scored a lot of points. What was his? I pulled his up, and I was actually shocked at how much he scored. He had 25 points in 38 games as a defenseman with Texas last year, which is honestly crazy good. But there's just nowhere for him to go on the lineup right now. So I would love to see him too, but he can't go anywhere.
Right, and I totally agree with that. Just because there is no spot for him in the lineup. Even if he's the 7th best defenseman, he's not playing in the NHL.
Right, it's not worth to leave him on 7.
Right, and I mean it's pretty much already stacked. The defense, it's Miro,
we have one of the best decors in the league, in my opinion. It's at least top 10.
Right, agreed. And
makes it hard for the young guys.
Yeah,
we can take that.
But like the retool that we were talking about, like as soon as Ben Sagan, Radulov, Pavelski, those guys are gone, Harley's going to be a big guy in the next team, which is it's not coming in 5 to 8 years. It's coming 3 years is when this new team is going to be here. So it's really cool to see that our team is great right now and has the prospects coming up at the same time. It's really, really great to see that from Nil. He's done well to keep a championship contending team and keep his prospects as well. He's done really well.
Right. And we gave him crap sometimes for
well, he deserves crap for the goalies. He's an idiot.
Okay. that's Chris's idea about the whole goalie situation, but
it's stupid.
But he gets some crap for the scouting that he does and the drafting that he does.
This is like a quantum idea, Chris, that you can be great and stupid at the same time.
Oh, that's exactly what it is. Yes, he is both simultaneously. Yeah.
I feel like that all the time.
Yeah, he's like an unobserved electron.
So, okay, so Chris, your ultimate answer is Ty Dellandrea. Short answer, right?
Yeah, for the question of specifically who's most likely to be on the team is Ty Dellandrea. Who I want is Damiani. Please.
Okay, so let me follow up with this question. You were talking about Riley Damiani maybe filling in that role next to Rope Hintz and Jason Robertson once Pavelski leaves. What about Dellandrea? Do you think he could fulfill that role maybe?
Dellandrea could. It just he's not showing as much potential as Damiani is. Even in the AHL, Dellandrea wasn't really, because Damiani wasn't he the top scorer in the AHL last season?
I don't know if he was the top scorer, but he was definitely high. He was definitely up there.
36 points in 36 games, a lot of assists. He had 25 assists of those 36 points, and that'd be a great fill-in for Rope Hintz. We'll just have Rope Hintz score all the goals. I mean, that's what he did last season. So
how's his two-way game though? Because that's part of the challenge of bringing a new guy up onto the big
NHL,
league, right?
You read my mind
both ways.
Don't
you
ask
read
me
my
that
mind
question.
completely.
Well, we got a Rope Hintz. He's already got our two-way. Robertson, he was a great two-way player last year. There's that.
That's true. That's very true. And he's not super sparkly with his play either. He just does his job really well.
He's a solid guy who's in the right spots and makes the right passes.
Right.
And you can learn defense. Like that's not a thing that you just have to be able to feel out and stuff. You just have to be somebody who cares enough to try. And of course that's up to him. I don't know that much about him, but hopefully he's a guy who cares enough to try.
Here's my thought though. Thinking about all of this is if he really can dish the puck really well, if he's a really good passer, he's a really good playmaker, why not put him with Gurianov maybe? Would that be good? Because Gurianov needs to shoot the dang puck, please, Gurianov. Okay,
I'm just so shaky on Gurianov right now, just because of the season he had last year. It's just, and I know it just wasn't slump.
It wasn't even technically a bad season. It was just not what we expected.
Yeah,
we expected him to take another step, and he didn't. I wouldn't say he took like a full step back, but maybe like a half a step back. If that
a little shuffle, maybe.
Yeah. Nothing huge, right? But I think if you give, maybe not this year, but if you give him next year and put Damiani with Gurianov, that may be a great tandem. Who knows?
And we're also comparing Gurianov to Rope Hintz as well, because they came up at the same time, and Rope Hintz had one of the best breakout seasons in the NHL while he was injured. So that's also a hard comparison to make. So maybe Gurianov was better. I don't think he was, but it thing to point out.
Right. So ultimately, I think Ty Dellandrea will make the team. I think he will.
He's actually. You think he's a scratch or
no? I think he's a fourth liner. If he doesn't play well and he doesn't fulfill his role on the fourth line, because I think the biggest thing about Raffle will be scratched, in my opinion, if that's the case. So I think he could be a good addition on that fourth line, because not only could he, probably play on the defensive side and focus on the defensive side of the game a little bit more, but he could, fill in on the power play if we've got some injuries or something like that. I mean, you said it yourself. He scored a couple power play goals, and maybe he wasn't given a ton of opportunities. But maybe just give him a shot. Give the kid a shot.
I mean, yeah, but he had a lot of games. Like he played 26 games.
That's also true. That's also
not
true.
like he didn't have a huge shot. So.
And it just looked like a lot of the time last year, and we've said this numerous times, that he was just getting pushed around physically.
Yeah, it didn't seem like he was big enough to be in the NHL.
Right. He's just not quite ready there yet. So, to answer the question, Ty Dellandrea probably out of the three is most likely to make it. I'm with you, Chris. I hope Riley Damiani gets a shot, even if it's just for a couple games, just to see how he does. Maybe he does really well. Maybe throw him on the line with Ben. Throw some youth at Ben, and maybe that'll get Ben going a little bit more, even kind of like last year. So maybe kind of jumpstart him, put him at center on the third line, and then give him a young guy to kind of help him push him along a little bit. So, anyways, we'll see how that goes. And hockey's getting closer and closer. So, all right. So how